I'm Sebastian St. James. Would you like to retire with $1,646,834 or $606,774? The choice is yours. If you invest today, you could retire with $1.6 million, but only if you do it today. If you wait 10 years, you will get $0.6 million. Let's look at the numbers. If you're age 30 and you put in $50,000 and then you do nothing, you just leave it there. If it grows by 10.5% a year, at the age of 31 it will be $55,250. Age 32 will be $61,051. Right down till you retire at the age of 65, when it'll be $1,646,834. There we go. The math is right in front of you. However, if you wait only 10 years and put in that same $50,000 at the age of 40, at the age of 41 you'd have $55,250. Right down to retirement age at 65 when you'll only have, $606,774. So, 1.6 million, 0.6 million, if you wait 10 years, that will be the difference. 0.6 million, let's delay that by 5 years and see what happens. At the age of 45, we're going to invest that same $50,000, and at retirement we get, $368,312. That's even half. So we've halved the amount that we're going to get just by delaying it by another 5 years. This is not looking very good. 0.6 of a million, 0.3 of a million, let me bring it forward by 5 years. At the age of 35, I place that same 50K, and at retirement, I get $999,628. Bringing it forward takes me from 0.6 mil up to the cool 1 mil mark. And all I had to do is to get onto it a bit quicker. Let's summarize our results. If you invest now, you will earn $1.6 million. Wait 5 years, you'll get a cool mil. Wait another 5, you'll get 0.6 mil, or another 5, you'll get 0.4 mil. Let's place those figures side by side. Let's get some clarity. In the left-hand column, 50,000 at the age of 30, 50K, 55K, 61K. Wait 5 years, it is 50K, 55K, 61. Column 3, 50K, 55, 61. So all these columns are exactly the same. You're making the same amount of money from the year you start. But if you only start 5 years later, then you make a whole lot less. So here are the figures side by side. You could compare them yourself. 1.6 million all the way down to 368,000. A massive difference. That's what not investing today will do for you. Not a whole lot, really. We have discovered the longer that you invest for, the more that you make. And every year counts. For the following, you will need grade 6 math. If I start investing at the age of 30, I am investing for 35 years. My growth, because I started with 50K, is $1,596,834, right down to only investing for 20 years when I'll make $318,312. Those figures are quite starkly different, aren't they? So it would seem if you invest for twice as long, you make twice as much. I mean, that's only logical. If I invest for 35 years, this is exactly the same chart. So how much I've made divided by the number of years which I've invested for, and that's how much I'm making on average per year. 45,624. I'll be able to do the math on that one. Right down to investing for 20 years, starting with 50K, and I'll get 45,624 per year. That's correct, isn't it? Investing for 35 years at 45,624 gives me 1.646 million. Invest for 30 years at 45K a year gives me 1.4 million. Investing for 20 years at 45K gives me $962,000. The figures are right there. Let's see how the calculated returns compare with the actual returns. Well, for 35 years, everything is looking perfect. I calculated it would be $1.646 million, and in fact the actual answer is $1.646 million, so we know our math is correct. Let's simply extend those figures. Invested in the market for 30 years, I predicted I'd get $1,418,715, but I ended up with $999,628. What went wrong? 25 years, $1.19 million I predicted, but I only got $0.6 million. For 20 years, I predicted I'd have $962,000, but only ended up with $368,000. Those numbers are wrong. There's clearly a problem. Grade 6 math is not working out for me. The answer is that the growth is not the same per year. If I invest in the market for 35 years, I am getting 45,624 on average per year. But as I invest only for 30 years, I instead get 31,654. So I'm actually making a lot less. If I invested for 20 years only, then the amount I'm actually getting is 15,916, not my 45k. And here it is with those figures broken out. 45k per year right down to 15k per year. So I've discovered that investment returns are actually not directly linearly proportional to investment time. That can be a trap for some people. The longer that you invest for, the more that you make, true, but also the more that you make per year. This dark magic has a name. It's called compound interest. Albert Einstein said that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Oh, looks like he was right. So why is it called compound interest? I know why it's called interest. What do you mean by compound? Because it's interest on top of your interest. It's compounding. Is this related to CAGR, compound annual growth rate, that we covered in 2 previous videos? The answer is yes, it is all related. Can you prove there's actually interest on top of interest? Show me the math. Putting in my 50k at the age of 30, at the age of 31, I've made $5,250 for that first year. For the second year, I've made $5,801. For the third year, I've made $6,410. So quite clearly, it is going up every single year. I can see that. Delaying it by 5 years causes no problems at all. The math is exactly the same. At the age of 36, I've made $5,250. At the age of 37, I've made $5,801 and $6,410. So all the math is exactly the same. By delaying, it doesn't change the math, but it does mean that you can't compound for near as long, and that's important. If I start my investments at the age of 30, then in my final year, I've made $156,486. Delay it by 5 years. In my final year, I'm only making $94,987. Delay it by another 5 years, 57k or 34k in my final year. 156,000 in my final year versus 34,000 in my final year if I've delayed it by too much. I can see why there's a problem. We have discovered through our math that time in the market is the most important factor here. Remember, in all cases we're using the same $50,000. The only difference is the amount of time we're allowing it to grow for. All very interesting, Sebastian, but where do I get this $50,000 to start with? Coming up soon, I'll have a video about how to save for a deposit, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. So far, we've dealt only with a fixed amount. We've got the 50k, we stuck it in the market, and then we walked away and did absolutely nothing. Is that how most people run their lives? The answer is no. Hopefully not. Most people continue to save throughout their lifetime. So let's look at the math of that. Now, we're going to save a paltry $10,000 per year. Is that possible? Yeah, $10,000. That sounds quite reasonable to me. At the age of 30, I start with $50,000. At the age of 31, I add $10,000, do the math, which is times by 10.5%, which takes me to $66,300. At the age of 32, I add another $10,000, add the interest rate, and it gives me $84,312. Right to I retire, when I once again add another $10,000, and I'll retire with $5,007,788. Whoa! A cool $5 million, just by adding $10,000 a year. Where do I sign? Okay, so adding $10,000 a year as my total savings is probably doable by a lot of people, but how much money have I actually added? Because I started with $50,000, but 5 times 10,000, in only 5 years I've doubled the amount I'm putting in. How much have I put in total? If we add up our 10k contribution right across the years, we've done $350,000. Oh, I can see why there's a difference in math. I started with $50,000. Now you're asking me to put in $350,000 extra. I don't know if that's fair. We have discovered by putting in $50,000, leaving it there and doing nothing, we get $1.6 million out the end. Or that same $50,000 invested at exactly the same point in time, adding $10,000 each, which is $350 across the time, gives me $5 million. Or if we want to summarize that, investing 50k, we get 1.6 mil. Investing 400,000, so both of those figures added together, gives me 5 mil. Well, these are 2 totally different examples. I can start with 50k. I can get that money together, but 400k, where am I going to get that from? I'm not actually asking you to come up with $400,000 all at once. Start with your 50K, go away, do nothing for 12 months. Come back, add $10,000. Come back in a year's time, another 10, so it's only $10,000 a year, which for a lot of people is achievable. Sure, it adds up to $400,000 over a period of time, but you're not trying to do that all at once. So this is a fairly doable, a fairly reasonable way of saving throughout your lifetime. Okay, I get the math. It looks very impressive indeed, but saving 10K a year, I can't afford that. I've got kids, I've got my car loan, I've got payment after payment, I've got electricity, gas. The price of petrol's going up and up and up. There's no way I can save $10,000 a year. I'll wait for the kids to grow up, then I'll come back and start to save when things settle down a bit. The problem is delaying it even by a few years actually costs you a massive amount. If you start now, you'll get $5 million out of it. Waste 5 years, you only get $3 million out of it. You've given up $2 million just by wasting 5 years of your life. Can you afford that? $10,000, you're going to put that off for 5 years? Yeah, sorry, that's going to cost you $2 million. Waste another 5, you get 1.7 million, or waste another 5 and you only get 1 million. So the choice is yours. Would you like to retire with $5 million if you start today, or potentially only $1 million if you wait a few more years? A stark choice, isn't it? Really, you cannot afford to wait. Every year that you wait dramatically cuts down the amount you'll have at retirement. It's your choice, but make it wisely. So we've learned 2 principles. Principle number 1 is it's time in the market that really matters as far as growing your returns. Compound interest. The second thing we found is if you add to your money over time, just a little bit each year, you dramatically increase the amount that you get at the end. If we just put in our 50K and add nothing to it, we get 1.6 million. If you add 10K a year, then you got 5 million. 1.65. You do the math. Problem solved. You've given me the spreadsheet with all the math. But what happens if I don't have 50,000 to start with? Maybe I have 55, maybe I have 45. And what if I'm not putting in $10,000 a year? Maybe I'm only putting 9,000 in some years and then 12,000 in other years. I can't do the math. Well, what you need to do is to work out compound annual growth rate, CAGR. I've done a video on how to calculate that. Go ahead and click on it here.